Hi, this is John Delancey, and you are listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
You're tuned in to Steve Megatron on Altered Geek.
Hello, and welcome to a special shortened edition of Altered Geek. I am your sometimes host, Michael Booth Ninja Powers. I am, of course, joined by your almost every single time host, Steve Megatron Phillips.
Yo.
So, I posed an interesting thing over the Christmas weekend. I don't remember what exactly spurred me to post it. I think it was about we've got 5 months until the next Star Wars movie, and there hasn't been any type of a trailer for it. Which I guess is kind of unusual. I think we'll get them kind of fast and furious here in a second, after the first of the year. But I posited on Twitter and Facebook. I wanted to see if people would go see the Han Solo movie if there were no trailers, if there were no TV spots, or if they would go see the Han Solo movie if there was no Rotten Tomatoes score, or what if there was neither one? What if you just had a movie title, maybe you had a movie poster, and a date. Would you still go see it? It didn't quite spark as much conversation as I was hoping. But there were some people that said yes, they would. They would absolutely still go see it. But did you answer that, Steve? I don't remember.
I don't remember if I answered it, but I remember bookmarking it as a good talking point because I think I favorited multiple of it just because I thought that it was a relevant question. Because we as in social media heavy culture now, kind of put a lot of emphasis on the either the trailers or the multitude of 30 trailers that come out now, or the Rotten Tomatoes score or critic thoughts, and it does kind of pose that interesting question of whether people would still care if they didn't have any of that.
Yeah, well, I think it also stems from what I said on our Jedi episode, which was people are mad because the movie didn't follow their headcanon. For various things happened in the new film or things weren't answered in the new film that, for unknown reasons, people thought were important, or they built up to think that they are important. Not to dive down that rabbit hole again, but it kind of stemmed from that. Like if you know nothing going into a movie, but one of my fears about the Han Solo movie, though, from the get-go was,
it's a prequel.
Yeah,
to something we already kind of know the outcome, that it's kind of anticlimactic. He's going to be alive.
It's not even that we know the outcome. They're walking right back into the every Star Wars quote-unquote super fan has their opinion, their story already made up in their head. Like they're wandering right back into that minefield. Like, you didn't make the movie I wanted to see on screen, therefore your movie is horrible. But this isn't that either. Like, this could be, we could apply this to the next Marvel movie. How much weight does do Rotten Tomatoes, do you place on Rotten Tomatoes scores? How much weight do you place on a review for said movie before you go seeing it, or like the trailers of the TV spots? Personally, I don't even I don't do Rotten Tomatoes. Okay. I don't do reviews for movies until I've seen the movie. And then I only read them if I'm looking for somebody to back up my feelings, or I just want to see what people have to say about the film themselves. Like, I but I do not read. Excuse me. It's been a long week. Um, I do not see a movie based on what somebody else has really told me. Like I can see a trailer or I'll hear like a title for something, or maybe it's just like a favorite property, and I know that I want to see that movie. Um, like a case in point would be Ready Player One. Like I didn't need to watch either one of the trailers that came out for that movie. I read the book. I love the book. I like Steven Spielberg. I would be there on day one having not seen a single thing. Um, so like how much does that stuff like because you said when you were getting ready to see Star Wars that you follow up on like everything you possibly can.
Well, and it's kind of a case by case basis for me. Like, there's certain films I don't put that much emphasis into finding out about. Like Star Trek and Star Wars seem to be that sweet spot for me. Like, I honestly don't care about like the 50 bazillion trailers that they drop. Like, I watch like the two major ones that they do, and then that's it. But because it's just mostly rehashing the same stuff. But like I've looked up the spoilers and I've looked up the all the leaks from the film, and I'll watch the clips and kind of read whatever I can on the material. But that's because of what they are and because of how rabid the fan bases are. That I kind of want to know what I'm getting into before I get into it, and to know what to watch for and whatnot. Not that it's going to detract from my opinion of the material any or add to it. It's just so that I can focus on the film as a whole rather than being caught blunt force, of what's going to happen in the film and hanging up on that one concept.
Right.
So for me, it's kind of a helping tool to kind of alleviate that, and so I can actually just sit down and watch the movie and enjoy it, and not have to focus on the two materials that may jar me and either upset me or irritate me before the.
But how much bearing does like a trailer have on you going to see a movie though? Like would you go see the next? You'd probably go see the next Star Trek movie without having seen anything, right?
Just because the property.
Right. So like, is there? And then this is where it gets like in the tough hypothetical business, right? Because you can't like we can sit here and go, oh, I'd go see a Star Wars movie without seeing anything. Oh, I'd go see a Marvel movie or a DC movie without having seen anything in Star Trek. I mean, I guess it works if you have an established property, right?
Yeah. I think it's kind of iffy too because I watched there's been a couple Marvel and DC movies that I saw the trailer and I didn't either have an affinity or care for the characters because I'm familiar with the comics. Like Suicide Squad, I didn't like the film, I didn't like the trailer, and I didn't like how it just looked. So the whole thing was a bomb for me. But and I think that the trailer thing kind of goes hand in hand with the amount of like leaked pictures and casting notices we get.
Okay.
Just because of you get this again. It's the headcanon, and it's you're not allowing for the creative differences of the director to reimagine them, such as Suicide Squad, which is probably why I didn't like it. Like I said, the thing with like Deadshot didn't really get me as much. It was majority of the rest of the characters. Most of it was Joker. Kind of hung me up on that. But again, it was headcanon. I didn't like what they were going for, so it didn't appeal to me. And so I had my gripes, and then I just had peace with it because ultimately that's what they made. So my thoughts absolutely have no bearing on how it comes down other than how other people use their pocketbook.
Right. I'm not. See, this is where it gets kind of tough because I like to say, like, there was a 6 month. Well,
you went quite a while without watching trailers.
Well, okay. So in See, again, I knew it was movies that I knew I was going to see, right? So, when I went without watching trailers, okay, when I first pulled that experiment, I did it in 2015, okay? And that was the year that Star Wars came out and the Jurassic World came out. Um, Trying to think what else came out in that time span.
Wasn't Batman v Superman, or that was 16? Maybe.
It carried over to that too, I think, though. Like Batman v Superman, Civil War, like it kind of bled over because it was like, okay, these movies have trailers that are coming out now, and it was like, I'm not, I kind of kept it up more or less to a certain point, and then it just kind of was like, okay, I'll just watch trailers once the experiment. I think I chose a deadline. It was like, okay, like I don't know what it was.
After this film comes out, it's
right. I don't want to get too much into what I actually did, but it was like what I did was I would only watch the first trailer that was released. That was all I was allowing them to show me, to get me hooked, and that was that was it from there. And that those movies in 2015, I think it made those feel that much better, because there was no. I don't feel like the first trailer that I saw for any of the movies that were part of my experiment spoiled anything that I didn't already know about. But one of the things I'm pulling right now is I'm not watching any trailers for Infinity War. And I want to see if that improves my my experience going into that movie. Just being completely surprised by whatever. Now I've seen memes and I've seen headline articles. I've seen screenshots from the trailer, but I've not seen the trailer.
I've seen the very first trailer, and then I've been kind of actively avoiding that film.
But what I was getting at though was there was a period of time where when I got this job, I got fed up with going to the movies because I didn't want to go because that was my job. So there was like a 4 or 5 month period of time there where I didn't go to the movies, and what I did was I'm going to take a risk and just pre-order or buy the movies that I want to watch in the theater, and I'll just watch them at home. So like I didn't even get to spend the $30 to go see if I liked the movie in the first place before I bought it at home.
You just bit the bullet
and just bought it because I was like I did that because I felt like my track record for picking movies that I know that I'm going to like was pretty solid. Like if there was a chance I went to see it in the theater, 99% of the time, I don't even know. I don't know what the actual percentage would be, but like 99.9% of the time, like I buy that movie when it comes out, or I'd be willing to buy that movie when it comes out, because if I like 99.9% of the time, I would have a lot more movies than I have right now if I bought every movie I went to go see in the theater. But up until the first 5 months of 2017, every movie that I owned, I'd already seen in the theater. So, but I still didn't fail. Like the movies that I bought, they weren't a letdown for me. I still did I'm only going to watch one trailer, not going to watch a whole lot of other things about them, get them home and watch them. There are some things that I don't know. I mean, I would like to say I probably would have bought Ghost in the Shell still, like sight unseen, or that I would have gone to see it in the theater. But I don't know. This is kind of tough because you can't really think of what's coming around the corner, right? You can't. Like I said earlier, we can't make something up. But it kind of goes back to how we used to. I posited this huge long thing also on Facebook around Star Wars, which was how each thing was kind of each trilogy is kind of it's a remnant of its own time, right? In terms of how media moved around.
Yep.
And the one that I remember the most, or the first one that I remember, because by the time I was old enough to watch Star Wars, 4, 5, and 6 were already out. Like I watched all of them within hours of each other, if not days. So there was no mystery for me in the first Star Wars trilogy. And I remember like when the prequels rolled around, you had to wait 15, 30 minutes for a trailer the size of a postage stamp to load to watch it at home.
Yeah.
If you were lucky, and you got all your movie news out of like Wizard magazine,
Yep.
like, or there was a movie magazine, Cine something,
I think it's
Cinescape,
still going on.
Cinescape.
Yeah.
But like that was how we got our movie news,
Yeah.
like, and that's what got me excited. I mean, obviously there were still trailers, but you saw trailers when you went to the movies. You didn't get to watch them on YouTube and dissect them.
No.
And
Those were the good old days when you didn't know anything and you just had to fly by the seat of your pants and kind of just hope for the best.
yeah, you didn't get to go frame by frame and deconstruct something and then post the first comment and say, man, I hope they fix the special effects for this movie. Like, you didn't get to do that. Like,
You were
you
just
sat
happy that a
down.
franchise was made in the first place.
Yeah. And it still happens to this day. Like, I'll watch a trailer at home and I'll be like, okay, that was a okay trailer, but I gotta see it in the theater. Um, because to me, there's a big difference between watching a trailer on YouTube and watching that same trailer in the theater. And I don't think that's ever been more evident to me than the Pacific Rim Uprising trailer. Like, I watched that at home.
And it
And
kind of looks meh.
it kind of looked a little meh. I thought it was like a poor man's version of Power Rangers.
Yeah, pretty
Which-
much.
Which the first one is the other way around, right? Like, it's like it's really, it looks really good, and I realize it's because all the scenes in this one are during the day. Like, they're doing something that you really don't do. You don't see a whole lot with special effects, which is daytime special effects. I mean, it's becoming more and more prevalent, but special effects in daylight look worse than special effects at night.
Oh, yeah.
But where the first one was all set at night, this one's set during the day, and at home it kind of looked a little meh. But when I saw it in the theater, I was like, man, I'm all in on this. This looks like fun again. It didn't look as cheesy. But it's just, do you? I guess it's just how much weight do you put on marketing of a movie? I guess, like, is knowing that your favorite franchise is getting, made into a movie enough for you to go see it sight unseen? Like if like my example earlier, which was Ready Player One. Like, if it's a book or a comic or a TV show that you liked, and they've got, like, you find out they've got an actor that you like and a director, like, is that enough for you to go see it without knowing anything about it?
For me, the franchise has a big thing to do with it. Like, if it's Star Trek, Star Wars, Batman, something, I'll go see it regardless. But
Well, let's try this. Let's try this one.
but I'm also a very actor centric person.
Right.
So, like, if there's a bunch of people I don't know the names of or like their films, I 90% of the time won't watch it unless
Okay.
my wife just turns it on anyway,
Fair enough.
and then I have to sit through it. But that's one of the things that she's always had a gripe with me about is I won't give films a shot if I don't know if their names in the IMDb are not people I've seen in something else. Like, if I can't pick one actor that's at least like a B-level actor from something, then it's automatically, like, I start kind of ripping the movie apart.
Well, okay, so let's look at it this way. I guess we can kind of play this. Like, would you go see a Thundercats movie?
Yes, because I was familiar with the animated series.
but still, like that's I mean, but it's never been a movie, and we all know that a lot of things don't make that jump very well. But
Yeah,
like,
look at
we,
Transformers.
okay, well, we
It's
can't use
fun,
that
but it
front.
doesn't look good.
So, but like, would you go like? But it's the question of would you go see it without knowing anything about it other than a release date and that it was being made into a movie? Like,
Yeah.
um, so would I. I mean what about I had a what? Okay, so Voltron is on Netflix. What if they did a Voltron in the theater?
I would still see it
Yeah.
because the animated series is really good, and you kind of know the formula you're getting with it regardless, and it's kind of tried and true.
Well,
It's
see, but you think that, but look what happened to Transformers. Like,
again, it's an artistic difference with the writers and the director.
and we've more or less gotten Transformers on screen,
They're
like
just
Power Rangers.
really bad, and that was
So,
really bad too.
so I'm trying to think if there's any other, ones that I could throw out there.
Well, like we got
Um,
GI Joe live action. The first one was terrible, and the second one was good.
I like the GI Joe movies.
I didn't say they weren't fun, but
See, that's
and,
but
and they're
that's
going to make a third one too. There's even a Micronauts movie in the or maybe an animated series. I don't know.
what about a Mask movie?
I would check it out, but I wasn't a big fan of the animated series.
Okay,
Um,
I mean we can get really obscure. We can start talking like Sky Commanders, Centurions.
yeah, I remember all those. I don't know if I would. I mean, I would probably see them. They would not be theater watch for me.
Well, okay, see that's the thing. That's the thing. That's different. Like I feel like there's a bit like if I'm gonna like you can say oh I'd watch it on Netflix, like yeah, but that's at that point it's almost the type of movie like I'm gonna put this on in the background while I might be doing something else.
Yeah,
You know, like,
that's kind of the same thing.
but okay, so I feel like I feel like if that is where it goes, then the answer to would you see it the answer to would you see it in the theater that is no.
Yeah.
Like that's I'm going to watch that movie, but I'm going to lump it in with the $10 a month that I'm paying to see all these other movies or TV shows.
Hmm.
Like I'm not willing to pay $15 for something sight unseen on its own.
Now,
Um,
if it's completely original property, something that doesn't have a name that's tied to an animated series or something we've seen, would you still see the film not knowing anything other than the title and the description?
like if it's something we know,
Or if it's something we don't know?
something we don't know.
Something that's not an established property, something that's completely original.
Well, that's what I've been kind of trying to beat her on because I don't really. I'm trying to think of something that I've done.
Because
I'm
I've
trying to
watched
think.
movies, I don't typically pick movies based on directors or writers. If I know that the actor has a good track record and the synopsis sounds decent, and let's say the only thing you saw was the movie poster saying the person's name and then having the title of the movie
Okay, if I
and
got all
and
that
then
information,
coming soon, and then that's it. Like there's no trailer, there's nothing.
right? If I got all that, if I got like a synopsis and a poster,
That would be enough to entice me.
I think that would be enough. Like but like I just can't think of anything where I can say yeah I can give to back that up because like I'm looking at my movie collection right now in front of me and I'm trying to think if there's a movie that I went to see that I knew like next to nothing about like going in, and I don't see too much like because I mean at that time I wasn't playing little experiments with my brain about oh, let's not watch a trailer for this movie. It was I love trailers. Let's watch trailers all the time.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was kind of my boat for a while.
I mean,
Watching, I mean, I still do it. I still blitz through trailers on YouTube, and I don't necessarily watch the movies, but you know, there's some trailers that it helps, and then there's some trailers like, you know, what happened recently, you know. So I mean, it can go either way, but I think that a lot of the times, like especially what we've noticed with Justice League and The Last Jedi is, if it's a big name property, the trailers and a lot of the extra buzz around it tend to actually hurt it, because people have their preconceived notions of what should happen, and then they're basing it off of a Rotten Tomatoes score or the trailers, or and then it's just a downward spiral from there.
So, what was the first trailer, or like, okay, the first trailer slash franchise, I guess, that you were ever burned by, like that you were like, okay, this movie is like that moment where you went, the trailers are so much better than the movie. Like, do you know what the first one was for you? Like, does it stand out that much?
Not really. I'm trying to remember some. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think the Justice League trailer was pretty decent, and then going into the film, I was like, it's not bad, but it's not great.
Well, that can't be I'm talking about like your first time, man.
Yeah,
like,
my first
example,
time. I don't remember too much from the 90s, actually. Like, just the early 2000s, I think.
Well, it's because you couldn't nitpick over the trailers back then.
Yeah, that's because if you saw them, it was on a TV commercial, and you had to catch it at the right moment, or you watched the preview channel.
Like, for me, I think, just as an example, the first time I ever felt burned by a movie trailer was X-Men 3. Like the one that stands out as, you know, movie trailers aren't always what aren't indicative of the final, or indicative. I don't know if I'm using the right word, but they're not indicative of the final product. It was X-Men 3. Which obviously that movie is a train wreck, and I highly recommend listening to the commentary track on that movie if you own it.
So kind of like Spider-Man 3?
Well, I know the commentary track for X-Men 3 is brutally honest. It's probably one of the most enlightening commentary tracks I've listened to outside of a Pixar movie. But anyways, so that was the first trailer that ever sold me like a wrong bill of goods, or wrong bill of goods.
I think Spider-Man 3 was kind of bad too.
Was the trailer good though? Like, the trailer was good enough to make you want to go see it, and then the movie was bad? Like,
yeah. Well, because they had that premise of Venom.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Man getting Venom's powers and everything, and then I was kind of like, oh, this looks like it'll be pretty good, and then we get emo Peter Parker, and then like all kinds of other like villains just being tossed in the mix, and it was just terrible.
Oh God.
You know, Sandman, Venom, Goblin. It was just a mess. But yeah, I would say that would probably be my first one that I kind of, that stands out to me that I remember.
All right. Well, on that note, if you guys have any trailers that you know, like, how do you consume your movie news? Like, do you rely on Rotten Tomatoes to tell you if a movie's good enough for you to see or not, or is a trailer enough to get you to go? Do you not care? Do you not need either one? What was the first trailer to ever rub you the wrong way, or to sell you the, you know, like we said, it wasn't the movie did not live up to the promise of the trailer? Like, what was the first time that happened to you, if you can recall that? Let us know what you think about trailers in general. You can do that using the hashtag altered trailer. You can follow myself, Michael Powers, on Twitter using the handle @BoothNinja81. Where can they get at you, Steve?
At SCP-21.
So yeah, you can comment on Facebook, the website, and you can @Altered Geek.
Yes, sirree. So until next time, get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks.